Hey Terraformers, it's Andrew Brown, and we are trying to figure out how to fix, and we purposely did this, how to fix it when we delete our state file. Um, and is there any way we can kind of recover from that? Well, if you lose your state file and you have a lot of stuff, you might not be able to recover from it because you can't import on all resources. But depending on how many resources, it might be possible. Generally, the rule is make sure you store your state file somewhere like Terraform Cloud. But I want this opportunity to teach you about Terraform import. Now, this state file is not here, and that's what we're working with. So what we'll do is we'll go over here. I'm just trying to think if we need to make a new branch. I don't know. So for the time being, we're just going to launch our environment without a branch. And if we need to make a branch, we'll go make one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And while we're waiting, let's go look up Terraform import for the environment to spin up. And so the way Terraform import works is it has an import command. I'm used to using the command, not the block, but that apparently is a new feature in 1.50. So if we go here and go down below, what you can do is you can create a, like, let's say you had a resource here and it's an existing resource. You could say import to AWS instance to here and then specify the name and give it its ID. Okay. How do we know what we can use? I think it's going to be based on what's in the Terraform registry, which we'll go look at here in a second. Here they're suggesting that you put those in the imports.tf. So we have two different ways of doing that import. I guess the question is, once it's imported, you can manage the imported resources like any other ones, updating its attributes and destroying it as part of the standard resource lifecycle. So I kind of wonder, if we make that file, can we eventually delete it? But I want to use the normal Terraform import command because that's what I'm more comfortable with. And then we'll take a look here and see what we can learn about this one. So I'm in AWS, and in S3 we have that bucket. That bucket has a particular name. It's somewhere in here. Here it is, that's the bucket. And so this is no longer being managed by Terraform because we lost our state file. So what I want to do is zoom on up here because this is darn small. And I want to go up here and I want to initialize Terraform init. Not Terraform, TF init. We really should use that short one because I can't spell Terraform half the time. And so that's going to initialize our providers. And let's see if we can go use that import command. So first of all, does it even work for S3? I don't know. At one point, I don't think it did work, but it might work now because time is always passing by. So we go to the Terraform registry. We're going to go into providers. We're going to go to AWS. We're going to go to documentation. We're going to type in S3. We're going to go to S3 bucket. We're going to go to the right-hand side and notice we have some options. My head is in the way. My big fat head's in the way. We'll go here and we'll go to imports. And so they give us an example. In Terraform 1.50, you can use the import block or you can use the import command. So let's use the import command first. So I'm going to go here, type in clear. I'm going to bring this over to the left-hand side and I'm going to type in Terraform import. I don't know if this is going to work with no state file. That's what I'm curious about. Terraform import, AWS S3 bucket. Okay, say allow. We'll grab this bucket name. I have no idea if this is going to work. I just want to see if it does. Paste it in here. The resource address, AWS, because that's not necessarily the name of what we called our bucket, right? I think we called it example. Nope, yeah, it's called example. So we'll go here. Not a great name, by the way, example. And we'll hit enter. And it looks like it's importing it. So import prepared, refreshing state. And so now our file has a state. So I'm going to click into Terraform state file. We'll take a look here. So we have random bucket name, good. AWS S3 bucket, good. But what about random? Because random relies on the other one, so we did import it, and so now the state is back in here. But what's going to happen if we do a Terraform plan? Is it going to say like, hey, random hasn't ran yet? Or is it going to ignore it? I don't know if it's smart enough to do that. Let's find out. Okay, so we'll give it a moment. And here, yeah, it would do the, so what it's going to do, it's going, hey, you haven't linked to the bucket, so we're going to delete this bucket and make a new one. And that could be an issue if you don't want that to do that. So maybe we'll go take a look at the Terraform provider for random. And I don't know if there's an import for that. Maybe this is where we stop using random because it's not a good use case for it. So go over to string, random string here, and it does have an import. So we can import that as well. So let's do that, and maybe that will resolve our issue. So now we have that opportunity again. Any attribute values that are specified will be ignored during the import. Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll try that as well. I don't know if that block works for that as well, but we'll just go here and type in Terraform import. And we'll go back over to our main, and we'll take a look here. So we have random string bucket name. And we'll go back over to S3. We'll copy that. And it's just the string. There's no equals there. Paste that in there. Double, triple check that is correct. Looks correct to me. Hopefully no trailing spaces here. Hit enter. We'll import that. Cool. We'll type in clear because we don't want Terraform plan to do anything. It should think that everything is in the correct state. Okay, and we'll take a look here. And so Terraform will perform the following actions. It's going to replace the bucket. It's going to replace it with a new name. So it's not really doing what we want it to do. So we were able to re-import it, but it seems to think that the value is not the same. So I think in this case, this is where we stop using random. So random was great for the start of the bootcamp. This is where it's not going to work anymore. So let's rip it out, okay? So what we'll go do is go over to providers, and we'll take out random. Okay, we're gonna go back over to our main. We're gonna take out the random string. And instead we are going to, we'll take this out. We'll take this out here. We'll say var. And I want this to just have a bucket name here. So I'm gonna go and say var bucket name. We'll leave the tag alone, that's totally fine. And so we'll go over to our TF-vars. We'll do our example first, and I'm gonna give it some unique name. So just say bucket name here, bucket name. And it can be whatever you want. Now we could just use the random value we had before, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna grab that, make my life really easy here. And I'm just gonna paste that in, and that's what it's always gonna be. It's always gonna be this value for that bucket. So that will be the bucket name. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over. Again, be sure you don't put anything sensitive in this examples file. We're just doing that for convenience. In a real project, you might not want to do that, or you'd have to fake that stuff out, okay? So we're putting the bucket name there. We're going to load the bucket name there instead. And we'll type in clear here, and I'm going to type in Terraform plan, and then see what we get now. So we'll go up here, and so this is value of undeclared variable. The root module does not declare a variable named bucket name. That's because we don't have that in there. So what I'm going to do is go back over to variables. Anytime we have a variable, we have to define in our variables TF. And so I'm going to go and actually we'll ask ChatGPT. I really don't like writing these by hand. So write variables, write Terraform variable for bucket name, validate the validate the string so it's a valid bucket name for AWS. Okay. And so it's talking about all the conventions, and we read that before when we were looking at the random string. So ChatGPT is saying, oh, we have to make sure all these things are considered. I really don't think it's worth your time to learn how to write regex for this. It's good to have regex as a skill, but once you have that skill, you shouldn't be writing it out by hand every single time. And so we'll take that, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, you can't use ChatGPT for everything. We'll learn that it doesn't always do the right thing. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to just type in clear here, and I'm just going to hit up, or we'll type in TF plan and see if it takes that. Variables DD, there's 2 lines says DD. I think I introduced that by accident. Go ahead, hit up. TF plan. Bucket random name. Do we call random name? What do we call it here? A managed resource random string bucket name has not been declared in the root module. In our outputs TF. Oh, right, so we have to change that out. So instead of doing this, we'll just say bucket name instead. And we can probably get that from S3. So we could pass the variable along here, but let's go back over to S3 and we'll look at attribute references. And it says name of the bucket if omitted. So we could use this. We'll do this, okay? Name of the bucket if omitted. Terraform will assign a random unique name. That's kind of interesting that if we don't set a bucket name, it'll actually randomize it for us. I don't really want to do that. I want to fix our name so that I just want to, okay? We don't have to, but that's what I want to do. So, and maybe we should stop calling this example because that's getting a little bit silly, I think. Instead of this being called example, I'm going to call this, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to see what I called it somewhere else. You know what? I think I'm going to call it website bucket because eventually this is going to host a bucket. Now, there is actually, at least I think that there's a good convention for naming these, and we'll talk about this later. For now, we're just going to name things whatever, and we'll come back and refactor it later in the course so we can learn a little bit more about structural ways of naming things. But I'm going to go here and just type in AWS S3 bucket, and then type in bucket. I like how it autocompletes, so we know that we can do that, and so that should resolve that issue. I'll type in clear, and I'm going to go up and hit TF plan. Okay, and we'll go up. And so what we can see here is it's going to destroy our bucket because we changed it from example, and it will make a new one. And we still have the state of the old one, so it should be able to tear it down. I think that's okay. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to type in Terraform, apply, and we'll say auto approve. And that's going to go ahead and just start deploying. While we're waiting, let's do some documentation to save ourselves some time. Oh, nope, it failed. S3 bucket, already owned by you. Your previous request to create a name bucket succeeded, and you already own it. Okay, so I think the issue that we're having here is that we fixed a name for the bucket, and the other one already exists still. So what we can do in this case is we'll go ahead and just delete the bucket out of here. We got to copy the name here. I know we're making such a mess of this, but it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? Did it delete it now? We'll refresh this here. Okay. Wow. So what happened is the old bucket deleted. The new bucket has the same name, and so it said it was already there, but it actually is gone. And so there's just an issue with network timeout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this again and see if it works, because now that bucket's gone. We didn't delete it. Hopefully that makes sense. That was a big mess, I know. So we'll go up here, and now it's just showing that it's going to create a new bucket. Oh, and it did. Okay, great. So we're back in a normal state. We'll go back over here, and we'll give this a refresh. Yeah, the bucket is here now. Okay. So we'll type in clear here. And, there's one other thing I want to show you before we move on here. So I just want to put a little bit of documentation so we don't forget what we're doing. So we learned about Terraform import. And we have Terraform, or dealing with configuration drift. And I'll actually put this under here. So that's one thing we can do. And the other thing is just to fix manual configuration. Fix missing resources with Terraform import, because those are two things that we can do with Drift. So the other case here is with the manual configuration. So what might happen is like you're working on a team and you're using Terraform. Everything's supposed to go through Terraform. Everything's supposed to go through IAC. But what happens is, for whatever reason, maybe there's a junior developer or engineer, maybe there's a production issue and you have to change it really quickly, but someone goes in here and they start fiddling with this. They go, okay, we need to delete this bucket. Like, let's just say a junior comes in and they just delete it by accident, right? They go here, they say delete, delete, delete. Okay, so it's gone or it's changed. So how is Terraform going to deal with that it's now gone? Well, the great thing about Terraform is it always checks the state of stuff and it says, hey, we found this is different, or we found that this is gone, or it's something's here that shouldn't be there, and it's going to correct it. And all we got to do is type in Terraform plan. Other IAC tools don't do that. Terraform does that, and it's very good at doing that. Well, I shouldn't say other ones don't, but like Terraform is just, their configuration drift is really, really good. So we go here and notice it's trying to create a new bucket because the bucket doesn't exist. So that is great. That's what we want it to do. So we'll go over here and do a little bit of documentation. So fix missing resources with Terraform import. We'll go over to Terraform import here and we'll paste this in here. If you want, you can go and as homework, if you want to figure out that import.tf. Again, I'm comfortable doing it the old way, so I haven't fixed that there. And this one is about more like, so you know, if someone goes and deletes or modifies cloud resources manually through ClickOps, that's what we call that. If we run Terraform plan again, it will attempt to put our infrastructure back into the expected state, fixing configuration drift. There is a third one, not necessarily configuration drift, but sometimes there are things that sometimes what you want is you want to do it the other way. So you want it to correct Terraform, but the other way is to bring in the changes that you want. I guess import does that. There's probably a third one in there, but I think this is sufficient for now. So we will leave it at that, okay? And we don't really want the S3 bucket there, so it was okay that we deleted it. I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and we'll mark this as, oh, we need a new branch, right? So we'll go ahead and do a pull request, or sorry, an issue. And we'll say here, document import or configuration drift is what we'll do here. And we'll go here and we will, did we give the example for this? We didn't. Okay, let's go here and just say Terraform import. And then it was the name of it. So AWS S3 bucket example. What was it? Let's go back over here. Import. AWS S3 bucket. Import. I think I might have already had an example there as well. Right, so we can just bring that over here. If you lose your state file, you most likely have to tear down all your cloud infrastructure manually. You can use Terraform import, but it won't work for all cloud resources. You need to check the Terraform registry documentation, Terraform providers documentation for which resources support import. Okay, So hopefully that is nice and clear. We'll go here, and we need a new branch. So configuration drift. Oh, we'll create a new one there. You know, I'll not be lazy here. Let's just put this in here. So use Terraform import. Purposely cause configuration drift via clickops and correct state. We didn't obviously apply that, but we know that that would have fixed it. So those are the two things that we did here. We'll checkbox off those. I'm going to create a new branch here. We'll go ahead and create that. I'm going to just copy that there. And I don't want to commit this here, so I'm just going to do a git checkout hyphen, or we'll do git fetch here. Git fetch. And we should be able to branch from here. There we go. So now we are in that branch down below here. And I'm going to just go and refresh this again. We'll just say document or change. We didn't just actually document it. We changed the way our bucket works. So bucket should no longer use random provider. So that was the major thing that we did there. We'll go ahead and sync those changes. We're going to make our way back over to here. We'll go over to our pull request. We're going to create a new pull request. We'll choose 23. And it will bring it over into here. I'm going to go down, or not down, we'll just hit the create pull request button. We'll create that pull request. I'll go down below here. We'll squash and merge, squash and merge. We'll go back over to main. So we'll say git checkout main. We'll do a git pull. Okay, we'll go check what version we're on. So we'll go back to code here. Give it a moment. Drop it down, go over to tags 110. So this will be git tag 120 git push tags. And I'm going to go back over to here and check that the tag is there. Good. And we'll go ahead and we will stop that workspace. And we'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.